So far, we've created a lot of really great useful utilities here. We've got filter, map, reduce, group by. I want to add just two more and start introducing this idea of combining functions together to make better functions. So let's go down and look at our getAverageABV function. Now, what we're doing here is we're just taking an array of objects, pulling out one value from each object, and then calculating the average or the mean of those values. This seems like a pretty common task, so let's make it a utility. So go back up here, and right below group by, we'll add fp.mean equals function, and we're going to take a collection and a property. Now we're going to accept two kinds of collections. One would be just an array of values, in which case we would just want to calculate the mean right on it. And the other one would be if it's a collection of objects and we want to actually pull out the property first, okay? So let's just return fp.reduce collection, fp.add 0. And let's not end it there. We have to actually divide that by collection.length. And that will give the mean of a collection of numbers. So what we need to do is, if there's a property passed in, we're going to assume that you want us to pull that property from each object in the collection. And so to do this, we have to do a map. Okay, so we have to change the collection. So collection equals fp.map. We'll map over the collection, and then in the function, we'll get each item. And in here, we will return the item property. So that pops out each value that's at the property key of each item into a new array, which will be saved over collection. And then that way, this line works in both cases. Okay, so let's change this to use our new fp.mean function. So here we'll say var mean equals fp.mean ABVs, and we won't need this one either. So we've just gotten rid of 2. It's actually the beers and ABV. So let me explain what we just did. All right, so instead of needing map and reduce inside of the average function, we're now doing the map and the reduce up in the mean function. So we are saying, give us the mean of all the beers, their ABV values. And then, since we've already got the mean, we can just times it by 10 divided by 10. Now, I hate having this in the average ABV function because, to me, this is just not clean and clear. We're now conflating this JavaScript hack that we have to do to get decimal places into the actual getAverageABV function. So let's fix that too while we're here. I'm just going to make a regular function because I'm not sure I want to have it in the FP library. It's going to be called round decimal, and we're going to take a number and some places. So we can do a trick where we get the places based on 10 to the power of the number of places. So our factor here that we want to multiply by and then divide by again is going to equal math.pow 10 places. If you want 1, 10 to the 1 will be 10. If you want 2, 10 to the 2 will be 100. And so however many places you want, we will raise 10 to that power and get that number of zeros so that we can multiply by it, do the round, and then divide by it. So we return math.round number times factor, and then divide it by factor. And so this means we don't need this anymore either. We can just say round decimal, and none of this nonsense is there. We just have a nice clean function that says get the mean by calling fp.mean on the beers. We want the mean of their ABV values. And then we're going to make whatever that returns into a round decimal. And we actually need to say we want 1 place. So let's jump back to the website and refresh. And let's see, we've got our average ABV at 7%. And just to make sure, here we go, we have 6.3. So it's still calculating to 1 decimal place. So that was really easy to just take our existing functions and make new ones, right? We have fp.mean now, which uses map and reduce, and our add function glues them all together and turns them into another function that's also reusable. So this can happen over and over and over. We're going to do one more. This pattern right here, where you map over a collection and pull out one value that's at the same key of every single item in the collection, that could be referred to as something called a pluck. We use this a lot. So we're going to actually pull it out as a utility itself. fp.pluck equals a function, and you want the collection, and then you just want the property. So again, similar to mean. Here, though, we will return fp.map. It's exactly what we're doing here. And we return the item at the property key. So now our collection actually becomes fp.pluck collection property. And one more time, just to verify we're still working, we've got our full beer list separated, average ABV at the bottom. Click on ales, we get 7.4%, 6.3, so we're still calculating to that first decimal place. But now we've remixed our functions a couple different times. And we have these extra utilities we can use to glue more and more functions together until we get this whole suite of reusable, powerful utility functions that we can use for anything. And so that our actual functions that do the work that we need to do are small, they're lightweight, and they're easy to understand. So building this FP library has been fun and interesting, but in the next video, I'm going to show you two libraries called underscore and Lodash that you may have already heard of, but hopefully now you'll realize that all they are is just FP. It's a glorified FP with a bunch more utility functions on them. And so we'll look at what it would take to swap in Lodash or underscore, and I'll talk a little bit about the differences between the two.